Hi guys, welcome back to my channel. So today we're going to be talking about how to draw jewelry. And so if you've noticed in all my videos that I've been making about like the tutorial ones, usually they're about how to draw separate things realistically. So today's video is also following in those same footsteps. So how to draw jewelry realistically. So let's get into it. So the first step I think is probably the most important step because it affects literally everything in the drawing once if you do this correctly. It's about using a reference. And I know I state this a lot in literally every single video I make, use a reference, and it's important with everything that you create, especially if you don't have much experience drawing it. But with jewelry, it's extremely important because it affects a lot of things. One, it affects symmetry because if you've seen a lot of jewelry, it's usually symmetrical and you don't want it to look awkward, and if there's no symmetry, then it's going to look awkward and it's not going to look real because then, or it might look real because your shadows might be in place, but it might look awkward, and awkward drawings where the composition is off, it just ruins everything. No matter how skilled you are, it will ruin the composition and everything else about the drawing. Using a reference also affects the reflections because jewelry, there's a lot of reflections on it. The highlights, the details, the dots that I'm making with this Corel pen, they're all based off the reference that I'm using because I don't draw jewelry often, and I'm not really sure what goes into it, so I always have to use a reference to make sure that the details are intact and everything is correctly spaced out, it's symmetrical, and the reflections are on the same places. If you look at the large gem in the middle of the necklace, it has a lot of reflections, and a lot of that I use some of my own mind because obviously I've done a lot of different types of drawings before, so it's you kind of learn that over time. But also I had to use my reference because it made it much easier to figure out where all those reflections were going to go, especially since there were so many different little gems that I had to draw out. Next, you have to focus on the detail because jewelry is jewelry. It's gonna be detailed most of the time, and especially when you're drawing something as detailed and intricate as the one I'm drawing in this video, you don't start off with this detailed of a drawing when you haven't drawn jewelry before or anything detailed like that before. I think that goes with basically anything that you're drawing. So make sure to add in all the detail, and again, this is where the reference comes in because references help you figure out where to add the details. So like this changes a lot throughout the video, but the highlights that I'm making, they really impact what the overall piece, the overall drawing looks like. You have to be paying attention to detail the way that the person who makes the jewelry, somebody who makes jewelry, the way they make it, the attention to detail that they have is what you have to have as well when you're drawing it because you're practically making it all over again. Next, you need to be able to draw out each gem separately so that you know where everything's going, or else everything is going to become really intimidating. Because if you look at this piece, it's really intricate and it might look really intimidating, but if I separate it into several small different parts, it helps and it makes it so that I don't have to focus on something so big all at once. I can focus on a small part of the drawing and work from there. And so that's definitely something I recommend for literally everything that you may draw. Next, highlights. So highlights in every drawing are important, but especially when it comes to jewelry, because I don't think jewelry, when you're drawing it, will look like jewelry unless you have highlights. It just affects so much. So again, those highlights are going to come from using a reference to knowing where those dots and those highlights are going to be. And like in the chain, not just a small pendant, forget about the pendant for now, but just the chain that I'm drawing, that I'm working on right now, it's also getting a lot of that attention to detail because chains obviously are very intricate. Yep, so these are like just a couple tips for whenever you're drawing jewelry. I like to keep my videos short so that they're easily like watchable and like you can finish them, and then you can also try everything out by your own, on your own time and by yourself. So yeah, we're getting near to the end of the video. As you can see, I'm adding some shadows underneath the necklace to sort of bring it onto place and make it seem more real, as if it were on an actual flat surface. And see how the highlights stand up so starkly against the background? That is important. Again, contrast. Alright, so this is the end of the video. Thank you guys so much for watching, and have a nice day. Bye.